Welcome to a Whirly Bear Productions podcast with me, Amber Williams. We explore film finance and distribution, featuring insights from filmmakers, entertainment lawyers, and industry experts. My guest today is Eline Van Der Velden, founder and CEO of Particle6, an award-winning AI production company behind over 50 viral programs and 1 billion views. With a background in physics and a decade of experience across the BBC, Sky, and Amazon Prime, Eline is pioneering how AI and creativity come together to cut production costs and shape the future of filmmaking. So, Eline, welcome to the show.
Hi, nice to be here.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Very excited today to talk about AI with you. So, I'm going to start off with, from what I know, about 2 to 3 years ago, you moved your production process over to AI entirely. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, it was a long time coming. So obviously we were a digital production company for a long time, and we were already trying to optimize how to produce stuff for less, because I came out of that whole YouTube era sort of in the early 2010s, and I'd been creating lots and lots of comedy sketches online, and so there was already an optimization happening, and my background in physics helps with that, because I just love the idea of optimizing and analyzing. And so eventually, I literally remember the day in November 2022 when ChatGPT was first released publicly, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is so exciting. And obviously everyone was like, it's rubbish. And I was like, yes, it's like a bad intern, but how cool, because I could see sort of where it was going to progress to. And I'm really happy to see that it has progressed to where I thought it would. And now it is no longer a bad intern. It is amazing. And we very quickly started optimizing little things like in pre-production and in post-production, and just scripting. And originally we would send our clients, because we do a lot of corporate and commercial work as well as broadcast, we would send them 2 versions of scripts, for short form video, the AI created version, and a real writer. And very quickly they already started having a preference towards the AI generated script. And it was still, don't underestimate the creative input into that, because it was still somebody, a writer usually, or one of our team, working with the GPT to get to that script, right? So it just means it has had more checks to get to that final script, as opposed to the one that's solely written by a human writer, which would get to the same point, but probably over the course of a few weeks, as we get more notes and back and forth and more key messages into it. So very quickly I saw how much could be optimized. And then in pre-production, just for location scouting and for call sheets, and there was so many applications, and which meant we could do more with less, and we could optimize every step on the way. And then obviously a year ago we started experimenting with the AI generation video content that's been coming out, and then we started making like AI characters, and it's all just really taken off. And now we're basically an AI production studio, and we can reduce cost up to 60%. And I think the future holds is that we'll have full, high-end TV series and drama that will be fully AI very soon.
Yeah, I remember when chat came out as well, and how quickly it improved is just mind-blowing. It's incredible. So it's exciting space. I can't imagine where we're going to be in just a year's time. So it's flooring sometimes. So I just watched, some videos the other day, and it's in just a matter of, a few minutes, you can make something so realistic. So do you get overwhelmed anytime, sort of seeing where it's going and how fast it's moving?
On a weekly basis. And then what happens, which is really interesting, a week later, I'm no longer impressed by it. I'm like, well, yeah, obviously it does that. So
wow, yeah,
it just shows how quickly we adapt to a new situation. I think our kids and the next generation will just be like, well, of course you can generate video using AI. And we will be like, what? There was a time when that wasn't possible. Sort of just like there was a time before phones, or there was a time before the internet. Yeah. But we always can't imagine it, right? And that would be the same with this. So yes, I think it's really exciting. I think it's really creative. It democratizes creativity. So a lot of young people who are sat, at home and they want to produce a film, they can. They can now do all that. They don't need a big studio to fund them. They don't need to, work their way up as far as we used to have to get to open doors, because they can just create so much at home. So I think that's the really exciting bit. And I also think it will create loads and loads of new jobs.
Yeah, I love that. Talk more about that.
Yeah, so we hired just 4 people last Thursday. So just to put it into perspective,
okay,
that's how fast we're growing. The jobs will be different. So we're still going to need people, but we need people to be very creative, to understand what the capabilities are, to know how each thing works, and to think much more think in a different way. So we're only really hiring people who have used all the tools, who have a broad understanding of it. And I think the freelance model that the industry had for a long time has broken down a bit, because, for example, we can't just take a PD and put them into our system because they don't understand how we operate. There's now, just like what you saw with digital, there was a whole time where normal traditional television PDs couldn't work in digital because they didn't understand how to optimize and how to make stuff on such a small budget, because digital budgets were like a tenth per minute. And I think now the same thing is happening again with AI, is you can't just use a freelance pool because it's such a big leap in understanding as to how we're operating. But that will all change. I think everyone will get trained up, everyone will understand, and then we will we'll have that freelance pool again. But until then, and on the job side, which I think is really interesting, is, there's so many dramas that are currently so expensive because they cost, prices are high in order to produce drama in our industry. And we've always had to look to co-pro models and lots of different financing models in order to get them off the ground and greenlit. Now, so many projects were sort of in limbo for a long time. They couldn't get greenlit. And I think, and that's because of the co-pro, right? The Americans not putting their money in. And what I think this allows for British stories to actually get produced and get greenlit and get made for the budgets that we have available in the country, and get loads of people working again because those projects get greenlit. And as a result, I think we should build the next, era of the British creative powerhouse in the world using AI. And that will only come if we really stimulate this new AI era, as I like to call it, and push people into it, and push people to train up in it and be creative with it. Because I'm a creative at heart myself. So I went to musical theatre school in the UK in Tring, with Daisy Ridley and Lily James. And I then studied physics, and I then went back into acting. And then I created a show called Miss Holland, which is like a female Borat, and lots of comedy. So I did improv comedy at Upright Citizens Brigade in LA. And so creativity is the heart of what I do, right? I like the maths, don't get me wrong. I really do enjoy a budget, but that's what humans thrive on, right? That's where we get our fulfillment. Just like Lady Gaga always said, like, I have to write these songs. It comes out, and that's human nature, is we want to create stuff. And so the computer or the AI doesn't have that desire in the same way we do. It's human. Humans have always wanted to create stuff from early paintings up till now. And it can be good and bad. And this is also something to remember with AI. You can make really bad stuff. So
I've made some terrible things.
Terrible things. And so I'm not worried about sort of, everyone being able to do everything. I think that's good, because, you'll get some bad things, you'll get some good things, and the good creators will still shine through. And the creativity will come from humans. And it's humans telling the AI what they want to create and what they want to put out there, and what they want other people to feel, because that's what creativity is about, is like, a cohesive feeling and idea you want to put out there. And so I am not worried about computers automating that or having that desire to put creativity out there. I think they're just a tool that we can use. And sure, there'll be stuff that will get automated, like I think some advertising, Maybe the thumbnails that you see on Instagram, as you're scrolling through, you'll see adverts that are automated. Fine. But that doesn't remove my human desire to create. That will always stay within me. I can't remove that desire. But that's
It's
why
essential for some people, isn't it, to stay sane? So
yeah, exactly.
talk a bit more about budgets. So
Yeah.
you say you can reduce budgets by, what was the maximum? 60% or something like that?
I mean, yeah, it varies depending on how ambitious you want to be. But already when we were doing digital productions, I mean, we were producing stuff for half or more or less than, half than what traditional broadcasting tariffs were. It's by using clever cameras. It's, back in the day, it was cameras, editing softwares. You didn't need an edit suite. You can do it on a laptop. You could just walk around with a phone. There's so many nifty techniques to get the budget down. And then with AI, it goes even further. For example, you don't need to do a reshoot. You can just put the words in someone's mouth and make them say. You can do a voice clone. You can do a character clone. You can do a person clone. You can make them say what you want them to say. So that saves you the cost of a reshoot. And I think it'll be incremental changes, right? So I don't think we'll straight away go to a fully AI generated drama. I think it'll be small things like, they'll optimize location searches and they'll optimize the call sheets being generated and they'll optimize all these little things first. And then we'll start to, so for example, we did an advert recently. We realized there were some bins in the background, right? Before you had to rotoscope that. You probably would have paid like a VFX company or a post-production house to do it. We can just do all that in-house. We do everything in-house. We remove the bins in the background, no problem, and carry on. And so it's just about little things that we can do to make the whole thing better. So what I also believe is that the whole production, and that sort of happened in the YouTube era, is the level of production that people are used to, or think is impressive, will go up. Everything should be pretty good because the tools are there to make it good.
So, for example, removing the bins out of the video in the past, how much would that have cost and how much would it equate to now?
Oh, it's a good question.
How much would it cost now if you did it?
Because I wasn't here throughout the CGI era, or I didn't work in that sort of traditional, but I've heard, the costs that would be. For example, we did that donut ad. It's an AI donut ad, fully AI. Took us 3 weeks when you got, put the full creative into it, the storyboarding, and then finally generating it. That wouldn't have been able to be done in 3 weeks before. It would have cost you 3 months, and then it would have cost you lots of CGI. I think it probably would have cost over 100K, to get everything to look as good as that. And so, we haven't put a price tag because we did that on spec. But I think you can definitely at least reduce by 60%. And this still doesn't remove the fact that you need a good creative, because if you can't be, it's not a race to the bottom, because then a creative director is still really important, because it could be really rubbish otherwise. But the tools are there. We don't need to spend it on unnecessary things. I think it's always important to spend the money on what's on screen, so that everything looks incredible.
Hi, listeners. If you want to keep this podcast going, please consider supporting me on Patreon. It's just a couple of pounds a month and it helps cover the production costs and keeps the episodes coming. Plus, you'll get access to bonus content, so podcast episodes that aren't released to the public. You'll also get insider tips on financing and distributing your film. And I also have a voucher code on there from Writer Duet Pro. This is fantastic screenwriting software. I use it myself. It's excellent. So you can go on there and get a discount each month for Writer Duet Pro. So our Patreon page is patreon.com/film finance podcast. I'll read that out again. patreon.com/film finance podcast. Thank you very much and see you soon. Bye bye.
So with this technology changing so quickly, If you were to work on a show in a year's time, how would you go about giving a quote or budgeting it today?
Yeah, so we are already quoting at that level. I think it'll be very different. I think you need to look at your AI workforce. I think you need to look at how much crew is necessary in order to get to, because you will still want to film some things, you can't generate everything. But you might want to film quite basically and then change a lot of it later in AI. So for example, a period drama, you wouldn't need the sets and you wouldn't need the costumes. You can superimpose all that later. So you can really start to look at a budget. And we do this now. We work with a lot of production companies in order to implement these AI strategies, and also to, they outsource a lot of their production to us that they can't afford to do normally. So we can do it all at a much lower rate. But you can go through a budget and sort of, for example, recently I saw a quiz question generating person, that's no longer a thing. Like, you can build yourself a custom GPT that grades all your quiz questions and also checks them in real time as you're answering them. So those things, you just need to be nifty in order to play around with them. And what I would say to the quiz question maker is, if they could be building those things on GPT, they would have a great job. So it's also about training the workforce to use these tools to their advantage, right? Because then you have great job prospects right now if you retrain to use AI.
And so if you're going to hire someone, do you want them to be able to use all of the tools, or are there some in particular that that are moving more quickly and you'd rather someone that was more of an expert in that particular software? Or
it depends what I'm hiring for. But I would, for every role, you need to have quite a good understanding. If you've never used GPT, I would say probably don't apply for a job with us. But I would want you to have at least created a custom GPT. I would want you to have, at least played around with DeepSeek as well. Tried, if you're in production management, tried doing budgets with an LLM. If you're a researcher, you should have researched using an LLM. If you're in post-production, you should have used, Kling, Sora. There's loads and loads of tools out there you should be using just to start getting your head around it. And I think that's also, I think it's key as an industry professional. You should be keeping up to date with what's happening and what's possible, because it's changing every week.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about the softwares that you've built in-house.
Yeah, so we created a few custom pieces in-house, mostly for idea generating. So it's sort of like a brainstorm tool, a format creator tool. We're also building our AI influencers. So we're building them in-house. So yeah, there's lots of really exciting things that we're working on. And they're quite light tech, but they do have a tech element to them. And that's the great thing about this new era is, my background is in computing and physics, and I could probably dabble in a bit of Python if I wanted to, but you don't need to. And that's the great thing about this next stage. So if you want to build an AI agent, you probably need to dabble in some Python. So obviously we're doing that. We're building the AI agents, but you don't need to, and that will soon change. And also ChatGPT can do a lot of the coding for you. So it is a great time if you're not super technical to create tech.
How much longer do you think things like Python will still be used? And
there's a great report called AI 2027, which basically is like, the race to 2027. Obviously, there'll be a crunch on everyone's job, right? So that's why I'm focusing on this inner desire to create, because I think even if I didn't have a job, I would probably do what I'm doing. And I think, yes, there will be a time where maybe we don't need some developers, but there will still, what will still be a huge job is checking what all the agents are doing. I mean, this is talking future, right? Like say it really does remove all our job and all our worst fears come true. Someone needs to be checking what the agents are doing, that they're not going rogue, the problem is, which we're already finding actually, is it spits out so much work to check that becomes overwhelming as a job as well. So there's still a lot of work to do to check everything. I think it'll create new jobs. I think it will create new opportunities, just like the internet did and all the softwares did. And it just evolves and it becomes different. But humans will always have an inner desire to work, in my opinion. So they'll create work. Because all these tools we've had over the last 20 years have been to save us time. And have we worked less? No. Like, we've never worked less in our ever. And so I think we will carry on working. We just optimize it. I would work even if I had £1 billion in the bank. I would still be doing this.
How has the adoption of AI been accepted into the industry, or how do you feel the industry are feeling about it overall with the people that you speak to on a kind of daily basis, monthly basis?
I think it's fascinating. It's really changing. So I would say 3 months ago, people were really anti, and now they're really, really keen and they're quite excited about the things. So I've made this AI update video. The response has been so positive. We have production companies and broadcasters getting in touch from all over the world. It's really exciting that people want to do this stuff, and that they see that we're a sort of front runner in the industry in being able to do this stuff. So yeah, I think people are changing their minds, and people are realizing, because once you start working with the tools, you realize it is still quite creative. So it removes the fears a little bit. And I personally think the neurolinks behind the AI is so complex that it doesn't replicate any of the learning materials. So sort of like a director, would watch loads of films and then it would be inspired to make its own film, and it's learned from all the films it's done in the past. The AI we're dealing with is quite similar. It doesn't even take pixels from what it's seen. It's like, I would like to compare it to atoms. So we are all made of the same particles, right? You and me, so you could say you're a replica of me, but actually we're not even inspired by each other, right? We are just made of the same atoms. And yes, a director and the AI have had to see films to see what we think are films and what are good films. But in the end, it still creates stuff from scratch in a way with atoms.
Wow. Cool. What fears do you have over AI being used, not in film and television, but other industries? Because it's been, it's throughout every industry now, isn't it? There's no escaping it. Like, it's here and it's here to stay, is what I think. And every industry are using it in one form or another. Are there any, things that kind of make you feel a little bit uncomfortable?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, there's part of me that's like, oh, it could kill us all within the next 20 years. Yeah. Like, if you ask it to solve climate change, it'll kill us, right? Like,
yeah,
climate change, like, it's not stupid. Like, it will just kill us.
Yeah.
So I think it's all about whether it develops an inner desire or not. And I don't know whether it will. Everyone talks about AGI coming around in 2027. Yes, part of me is scared, but at the same time, I can also see the benefits and the opportunity. And so I'm like, well, it's coming anyway, so I might as well get on this train and, enjoy it whilst, enjoy the wave. I'm riding the wave. And if we crash at the end, it is what it is. The wave was always going to crash. There's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you very into robotics?
I am. Do you know what? I've been watching those robots that come into your kitchen. They sort of clean your kitchen. I would be all over that.
Yeah, I think robotics are great.
It is a bit scary though. Like, having one of them in your house. Like, the scent. Yeah, I don't know why we are scared by it, but because if they would get hacked or something. Yeah.
Yeah. What companies do you think are creating the best robots?
Oh, I'm not that well versed in it, unfortunately. Okay. I wish I had an answer. No.
Have you seen the Disney Spider-Man robot?
No, I haven't, but that sounds amazing.
I'll send you a video afterwards. It's
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah. I mean, you can barely tell the difference, or you can't really, from, a human Spider-Man flying through the air, and this robot that they've built that's in Disney World.
Yeah, it's incredible because the robotics are coming, in line with the AI, because obviously the AI is really helping the robot industry. And it's fascinating. I think, I mean, I definitely have a robot lawnmower, which we call Roby, and Roby does a great job, works day and night. But we do get annoyed when he has to charge, It's like
you got one of those Hoovers that goes around the house as well.
Yeah, I had one of those Hoovers. It just didn't quite work for me, because I think it used to just, I had to empty it all the time. The good thing about the robot lawnmower is you don't have to empty it, because it just does little snippets and it just drops it onto the ground.
Okay.
So I guess it was too much effort for me.
Getting so used to AI doing things for you. Like, I think the robot Hoover, they have one now that empties itself.
Oh, okay. Maybe I need to look back into it. It was a few years ago. Yeah.
Big advance somewhat. So what projects are you excited about at the moment that you're doing? What ones do you want to talk about the most, and what ones are you doing in the future?
Yeah. Gosh, there's so many. I would just say, like, on our website, it's changing every week. So if you go to particle6.com, there'll be a new project every time. I think we'll be launching some AI influencers very soon. We've got a Hearst Networks project that's called Two Sides of History that'll be coming out soon. Yeah, there's so many great projects, and I can't share too much about some of them. So I'm not allowed to talk about them, but please do check our website on particle6.com, and it will be all on there as soon as it comes out, and in our newsletter.
Brilliant. And talk more about the AI influencers. What exactly do you mean by that, and who are you creating?
I think this will be the future. So there's already a character called Lil Michaela in the US who makes about $3.5 million a year. And I think when we start making AI generated dramas, there'll be actors in there. So it's the next generation of famous faces that will be emerging in the coming years. And they'll be on Instagram, and they'll be all over TikTok, and they'll be all over film and TV. Now, what is also interesting about it is you'll have characters, you'll have, say, Keira Knightley wants to do a film, but she's got a scheduling conflict at the same time. However, with this new tech, she can do, everything. So she can be in 5 commercials in Japan at the same time as filming this film in the UK that she actually wants to be on set for, but also being in this other film that's filming in Germany at the same time, because we can generate her into it. We don't need anything. We don't need to even do a 3D model of her. We just need a photograph, and it can generate a Laura from that, and it can then generate her in any film, and it will look real. We can already do that. That tech is already here. And so these actors at this sort of level, they can start scaling their income to be 5, 10 times, or however many films they want to be doing at the same time as before.
That's insane, isn't it?
So it's a whole new world for actors as well. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, this has been a really interesting talk. I've absolutely loved it. So thank you very much for coming on the show. I'm really excited to see what projects you have in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber.
Brilliant.
Thanks for having me.